Hi, this is Jay, and welcome to my fourth discussion on DS relationships. This time what we're going to talk about is DS relationships and romance. Ever since I started talking about DS relationships at any level, people have come to me and asked, can a DS relationship be romantic? I understand the question. From the outside, the fetish wear, the whips, the chains, floggers, masks, none of it seems romantic. It seems sort of like the antithesis of romance, just the sex side. But the reality is quite different. For people inside the DS relationship, there is still romance even in these activities. It's just harder to see or harder to understand because our worldview is a little bit different. The symbolism isn't quite the same. An example of that would be if you gave flowers, if in a normal relationship of a husband giving flowers to his wife, very romantic image. In a DS relationship, the husband may still give flowers to the wife, but it might be that those flowers still have their thorns. Because in the DS side of things, the idea of beauty, the pain underneath the surface, is one of those secret symbols that sort of inspired us. That the idea that pleasure and pain are related is the part of the sadism and masochism ideas. So we've got this traditional image, but it takes on a slightly different light. Now, one could ask, is romance important in a DS relationship? Now, my answer to that is a little bit different. It depends on the relationship. If you're in a DS relationship that's based on love, romance is not only able to be there, it's essential to be there. It's part of those needs that we all have. The problem is the need changes from person to person. Romance is a very vague term because if I ask you, what is your concept of a perfect romantic evening out? Your answer, your partner's answer, my answer, and my partner's answer will probably be completely different because each of us have different needs when it comes to romance. Some people may consider a night out at the Lakers game together as romantic. Others may consider a ballet romantic. It all depends on the person. But in the DS relationship, remember, these are our needs, and these needs have to be communicated between one another. So a DS relationship can actually be more romantic because the communication of what's important to us comes out more. That's all assuming that your relationship is based on love. If your relationship isn't based on love, then romance is probably not part of it. In fact, probably romance is what you don't want to be involved in the relationship. So let me give you some specific things that I consider romantic within the relationships. Because just because you're in a DS relationship, it doesn't change the holding, the touching, the caressing, the walking on beaches with holding hands, walking down a beach, or romantic evenings, night out. But within the DS side, there are important things there too. Two examples I can think of. One of which is like with the gift giving with flowers. And that's because for one of my recent birthdays, my beloved went out and bought me a little flogger key fob. Now that was romantic to me for a number of reasons. One, because it was acknowledging the relationship and ourselves and my needs all in this little gift. And second of all, she had to go through a lot of problem of going down to one of the normal stores, find that they didn't have it, ask them to order it for her, and to pick it up from there. Which means she not only acknowledged our relationship between ourselves, but she acknowledged it in front of other people in a way that would not get us into any difficulty in town. That was wonderful. She gave me something that was very important to me that really meant a lot to me. And in another situation, this was on a night, almost 4 years ago. I was working in New York once every month, and I came down and I was driving back home. It was a 15-hour drive from where I was to where I'm living now. And we had gotten in some disagreements while I was on the road. I was calling up all the time, seeing how she was doing, and we had some disagreements. So I was driving home not knowing what sort of reception I was going to get. I didn't know if we would continue arguing. I didn't know if we'd be kissing and making up. I didn't know if we were going to just be talking. So here I am driving 15 hours. It's like 5:30 in the morning when I finally show up. And I get out of the car, and I come up to the door, and on there's a note. The note is to Sir. And it was her apologizing for the disagreements and telling me she was waiting inside for me. Since it was to Sir, I know which side of me she was talking to, and I opened up the door. As I could look down the hall and see our bedroom, I could see the candles lit in it. The whole room was flooded in candles. So I walked down to the room and looked inside, and there she was, ready for anything, surrounded by candlelight. For me, that was very romantic within the DS piece. For me, romance is important in my DS relationship because mine is very much based on love. I chose to have a partner that is my equal in every way, and I want her always to kneel to me because she chooses to, not because she feels like she has to, or because I'm forcing her to, or because she feels that she's my inferior in any fashion or form. Her kneeling to me is the full acknowledgement and consent with understanding that she wants this. She wants to give this to me just as much as I want it for myself. It's important in other respects inside the DS relationship, for example with aftercare, and I've touched on this briefly before. But when you have a relationship like mine, inside a scene you could bring them down so low because of the humiliation and the physical triggers that are going on, that it's not necessarily the easiest for them to come back to be your partner. The aftercare is part of what makes that work, because with the aftercare, with the caressing, with the loving, with the reminding of them who they are, reminding how much you love them, it helps them transition, as I've said before. And that in itself can be extremely romantic. It's the idea of, a standard husband and wife scene. They have wild, crazy sex, and the husband turns around and starts snoring away. Is that romantic? As opposed to two partners who've just had a wild, crazy sex scene, who hug each other, love each other, whisper all the normal, endearing things of how much we care for each other before we go off to sleep. So I put to you that a DS relationship is not only can be romantic, if it's based on love, is very romantic. And if both partners communicate their needs, can be one of the most romantic relationships on earth, because there is no plays, there's no power plays, there's no, oh, I'm supposed to do this for that or whatever reason. Everything's known, everything's on the table, and what's important to us, what our needs are, is discussed and known. And each of us in the relationship wants to make it work. Send me any questions you want. Tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll try to answer it further in my future videos. Thank you very much.